politics and war times. This is the Books of Enoch, chapters 44 and 45 by Zane Kochville Chet NoopooH, the seven black walking orbs slash stars, Uyu Ta Kinu Unu, NoopooH, Noon Ethiopia 60, NoopooH embryo year, 96, 770 days until February 5th, 2025 AD. Chapter 44. Another thing also I saw, respecting splendor, that arises out of the stars and becomes splendor, being incapable of forsaking them. Listen to reason. The universe of nature are born when the original true stars of the universe first jet out nine ether sunshine, positive nature, electricity, and mind into the open spaces among the many true stars, causing light and also life to continuously emanate throughout the universe of nature. Nine ether is original life and light, mentally and physically, and the scientific name for it or them is NoopooH, pronounced NoopooH. The original Ethiopian forces and powers of nature. The name NoopooH includes the male and female powers of the one supreme being, and is plural in purpose and power, although the name NoopooH itself is singular. After the suns jet out positive ether of nature, nine ether, into the atmosphere, putting the rest of the universe into creation, order follows, as explained in future writings. This volume is introduction, book number 1, let it be remembered always, let it be known. Introduction to the Nature, book 1, page 196. Listen to reason. This writer keeps saying that the conception and gestation of NoopooH seems like the birth of NoopooH, because the true and real and full birth of NoopooH, sound right reason, does not happen until 0.6 east on the smack circle of order, and that is 18 million years from now at the time of this writing. But the way that NoopooH is developing as an embryo is like they're growing as a newborn babe, meaning bigger, stronger, and more intelligent as time proceeds. The gradual emission of nine-ether mentality NoopooH from the centers of the suns goes to the centers of universe orbs such as the planets and satellites, and they too begin to resurrect and gradually permeate ether mentality more positive than before. And of course, this non-mentality activity affects us human beings advertently, that is to say, in a noteworthy and positive manner. Let it be remembered always, let it be known. Excuse me, let it be remembered always well. Introduction to the Nature, book 2, page 167. Listen to NoopooH's sound right reasoning. Enoch was witnessing our NoopooH's embryo slash birth, February 5th, 1962 AD, as we NoopooH emanated from all the true stars and female suns, such as gas giants like Jupiter, Jutar, and Saturn or Saturn. Verse 1, parable. The second, 45 verse 1. Parable. The second, respecting these who deny the name of the habitation of the holy ones and of the Lord of spirits. Explanation. Listen to reason. We black people as an ethnic race are still in mental captivity as well as spiritual and religious bondage, and we must not allow ourselves to slip back into physical captivity. Therefore, as already emphasized, we must embrace our own true culture now and broaden and tighten our ties with our racial members in our motherland called Africa, like Jews do with Israel and other Caucasians do with Europe and North America. Racial bigots and one-sided racists publicly degrade themselves and demonstrate just how ignorant they are about ancient history and their own past when they publicly disparage and defame members of the Ethiopian race, the race who gave original and true culture to the world, and the race whose genuine hospitality and benign nature their ancestors took advantage of. Let it be remembered always and let it be known. Introduction to the Nature, book 1, page 156 to 157. Reason talks. Africa must be for the members of the African race, the Ethiopian race, those at home and those who are abroad, the same way each time that conditions are the same. The African race, also called the Ethiopian race, was born from the source of the Nile River in Equatorial Africa in the persons of our ancestors known as the flesh and blood gods and goddesses of the top half of the smack circle of order, as explained earlier in this book 2, as well as book 1 of Introduction to the Nature, written by philosopher, scientist Afro Unu. Therefore, of our past heroes of African descent, known as Marcus Garvey, declared Africa for Africans at home and abroad. Of course, he meant that the continent of Africa is the motherland and home of the Ethiopian race, who should be in control of all of Africa and its surrounding islands, and any other ethnic race on the continent of Africa is a visitor, not a permanent resident. Planet Earth is plenty big enough for each human race to find its place on it and stay there without intruding on other ethnic races' territory. If any human race is justified in claiming a portion of orb Earth as its own, it is the African race, because our ancestors grew the planet of Gaia and their 9 ether fire form. This writer predicts that after Armageddon, the climax war, which concludes the Point 3 South cataclysm, each human race on orb Earth will not have too much of a problem finding its proper place on this planet. Let it be, remember always, and let it be known. Introduction to the Nature of Nature, Book 2, page 229. Verse 2, heaven they shall not ascend. Explanation. All mankind races except the African race can go around the smack circle of order to the top half and back around. Mankind races only appear in the bottom half hell zone of existence. Listen to reason. So we see now that the Tarkine, the kinky hair race, and mankind race, the straight hair race, plus Tar mankind, the wavy hair race, are predatory beings along with the predatory animals and raptorial birds, but we humans have the ability and intelligence to choose to be or not to be. And if we choose not to prey upon other beings, including ourselves, the much better off we be, health-wise and otherwise. In shape 31 and 35 on page 68 and 70 of this book, 2 dots on the circle after origin of the Indian race signify the Mingalese race again. These dots that are 2 million years apart, like the other dots, symbolize a 3-way mixture of human races now, because the Indian race has been added. Then we run into the time origin of the Mongolian race, 12 million years to evolution. After the Monkings, members of the Mongolian race, comes the Mingalese race anew, indicating a 4th type of racial mixture of descendants. The Caucasian race dot next to the last evolutionary dot is out of place in the race name sense, because Caucasian race original was not 2 million years before the end of evolution, but 6,000 years instead. But the writer puts their origin at dot next to the last dot anyway, in order to keep the information neat and orderly. All human races were pygmy races at first, before evolving taller and slimmer as a general rule. And some people, like the African pygmies, are still short because due to their location during evolution, they were less affected by the evolutionary powers of the moon in their diet, water, and breathing. Let it be remembered always and known. Introduction to the Nature of Nature, Book 2, page 122. Alright, let's go to the next. Okay. Alright, so here we have the races that I made based off of this out of the nature book. So you got the Ethiopian race all the way down to the Caucasian race. And here you have each race that came in about 2 million years apiece, except till when you get to the bottom. So the Ethiopian race go back 18 million years as far as we was procreated 18 million years ago. Then 2 million years later, at 16 million years ago, was the Phoenician race. Then 2 million years later after them, which is 14 million years ago, the Mingalese race came, which is a mixture of these two. Then you had the Indian race, which is 2 million years later after them, which is 12 million years ago, came in. Then 2 million years ago, 2 million years later, which is 10 million years ago, the Mingalese race came. And then 2 million years after them, which is 8 million years ago, another Mingalese race popped in, right? Which is just mixtures. Then you had the Mongoloid race, which is 2 million years after that, which is 6 million years ago, came in. And then 2 million years after that, which is 4 million years ago, was the Mingalese race. And then later on, the Caucasian race came in 6,060 years ago, okay? So that's Just giving you more of a context. Let's do some math. The Ethiopian race can go around the whole circle, which is 72 million years. The Phoenician race can exist for 32 million years from evolution to the revolution section on the opposite side that they originated. So basically, if we count 16 from here to here, 16. And then you put another 16, which is the opposite side of the smash circle they originated at. You just double a number. That's all I'm doing for each race. All right. The Mingalese race exists 28 million years. The Indian race exists 24 million years. The Mingalese race exists for 20 million years. The next Mingalese race exists for 16 million years. The Mongoloid race exists 12 million years. The next Mingalese race exists for 8 million years. The Caucasian race exists for 12,000 years. The Ethiopian race is the only race that can reach heaven where NoopooH reign. Let this be known. This is a picture of the smash circle. So if you look at it, all of the human races, including us, came from here to here. But our ancestors who procreated us started from here. So this is 36 million years. So then they make us, we still are them, just in a lesser form. And then we continue on all around, continue in the bottom half, because our ancestors can't live in the bottom half. It's not hot enough. And you need NoopooH energies, not ZooPooH energies. All right, so that is how we can go around one whole time, 72 million years, times 80. All right. Listen to reason. The Ethiopian race comes into being as the Takanoa race again every 72 million years because it is the descendants of the physical nine ether NoopooH, the flesh and blood gods and goddesses of the top half of the order circle after NoopooH had become physical six ether Ta and sexually procreated the Takanoa race. Hence our progenitors started at 0.6 east again as gods and goddesses 36 million years earlier after having been the Ethiopian race in the bottom half for the smash circle and the bottom half for the order circle. To put it another way, the Takanoa race, now known as the Ethiopian race, and the African race and the black race is the only human race of people who can keep compassing, going completely around the smash circle of order from the origin and birth of the countless universes until the universes end. Whereas the Ethiopian race represents the universes with moon. The Phoenician race represents the suns of the universes by way of the moon. The Indian race represents the planets by way of the moon, while the Mongolian race represents the satellites by way of the moon. The Mingalese and Caucasian races are not original races because they are modified and mutation offsprings of the original races. However, some members of the Mingalese race could be considered to be original mixes. Let it be remembered, always let it be known. Nature Book 2, page 110. Nor shall they come on the earth. Explanation. It means they won't make it to the top half when the earth is in her heavenly state because they don't have the ability to survive as a race that far into the future. This shall be the portion of sinners who deny the name of the Lord of Spirits. Listen to reason. Then the question 2, what happens to organized religions? At the advent of NoopooH and Noon, they might be very upset and disturbed, and as in the past, as concerning philosophers and reformers, some members of organized religions might seek to harm the new order of persons and things, but by such thoughts they will do more positive help than negative harm. Introduction to the Nature and Nature Book 2, pages 235 in part. And who are thus reserved for the day of punishment and of affliction? Explanation. That day of punishment is February 5th, 2025 AD, the day of the cataclysm. And in that day shall the elect ones sit upon a throne of glory, and shall choose their conditions and countless habitations, while their spirits within them shall be strengthened when they behold my elect, shall choose them for those who have fled for protection to my holy and glorious name. 45 verse 4. And that day I will cause my elect one to dwell in the midst of them, will change the face of heaven, will bless it and illuminate it forever.
Desire to be.
never seen before such scary scene. Yesterday evening, August 7th, a strange scary phenomenon has occurred in the sky of St. Petersburg, Russia, after a thunderstorm passed. The sky suddenly turned blood red and the city was colored with a fearful red light, as if it were the doomsday, the last day of the earth. This frightening scene is a phenomenon that appeared at sunset yesterday.
About this. All right, so here we're gonna go to the solar eclipse. It said during this solar eclipse of February 5th, 1962, something special happened. This was called a grand conjunction, also called Aquarian stellium. As showed before, great events occur. There is a solar event signaled by solar cycles. At this time, according to mundane science, was solar cycle 19. Solar cycle 19 was the 19th solar cycle since 1755, when extensive recording of solar sunspot activity began. The solar cycle lasted 10.5 years, beginning in April 1954 and ending in October 1964. The International Geophysical Year occurred at the peak of this solar cycle. A geomagnetic storm in February 1956 interfered with radio communications and prompted a search for the British submarine Acheron after it lost radio contact. Intense red aurora displays frightened people in Europe on 11th of February 1958 and were visible from many U.S. cities as far as the 40th parallel. This geomagnetic storm caused a radio blackout over North America. Aurora displays were visible over New York on 13th of November 1960, October the 1st, 1961, end quote. These active rise in heat are very important to notice, especially since November 23rd, 1926. The fact that the article said an intense red aurora was seen in the sky points again to the presence of NoopooH, whose color is red on our NoopooH waxing symbol. Remember this well. Also, go and rewatch Tarbuna's videos, The Temperature of Nature 1 and 2. That means every time the sun gains heat and the earth and stuff gains heat, their solar cycles are occurring where everything is getting getting hotter from the sun and from what's within the core of these orbs as well. All right. So this is the symbol of our NoopooH, where you see the N represent infrared and the N stands for life in NoopooH. All right, NoopooH surrounded by the color red, the color of the stars in life. Let us continue. A person of wisdom by nature is a person of nobility by nature, and a person of nobility by nature is an elite or elect, one who survives by fitness of mentality, sanity, and knowledge of nature by NoopooH. The laws of nature and the powers of the gods and goddesses, let it be remembered always and let it be known. Introduction to the nature. Listen to reason. Physically, the African Noon Kingdom of planet Earth will be all the motherland Africa and her surrounding islands, and mentally and spiritually the king of the African Noon Kingdom, whose acronym is TANK, is non-nature NoopooH, emanating from the centers of the universe orbs such as the sun, earth, and moon, and whose writer plus messenger is Afro-Unu, the scribe of the positive words known as Noon. The African Noon Kingdom will come into being after Armageddon, the climax war between justice and injustice. So Afro-Unu will be that king or the elect one that's selected by Afro-Unu, by NoopooH. With justice prevailing, But physically, spiritually, and mentally, the gathering of the African Noon Kingdom tank starts with members of the Ethiopian race everywhere becoming NoopooHs, those persons who accept, learn, and practice the 9 signs Noon and thereby become elites, those chosen to survive Armageddon, the climatic war of the climax action called the Point 3 South Cataclysm. Remember, Introduction to the Nature of Nature, Book 2, page 210. My elect one should choose them for those who have fled for protection to my glory, to my holy and glorious name. Listen to reason. The following memorandum is the conversation each and every NoopooH of the Ethiopian race should have with NoopooH at least once a day, and the name NoopooH should be pronounced in mind, whisper, or out loud in the numbers order given and before the conversation starts. The numbers order given creates 2 ends as you read the name, and the 2 ends made by reading and pronouncing the name NoopooH 9 times stand for NoopooH and Noon. It's the memorandum conversation where you say NoopooH 9 times. NoopooH, 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 NoopooH. Introduction to the Nature of Nature, Book 2, parts 236 and part. Verse 5, I will also change the face of the earth. Listen to read that these positive mind energies mentioned in the preceding paragraph emanate from the centers of universe bodies like the sun, earth, and moon, and indeed increase in the atmosphere that every person and thing travel in and breathe, and by help of Noon, the positive signs they compose and disclose, they NoopooH cause the smash circular order to go upward on the right side from point 3 south instead of terminating out and disintegrating. The universe is on the sequence 3210 like the evolutionary force of nature would do if left unchecked. For the sequence of 3210, see figures 10 and part 2 of this presentation. Let it be remembered, always let it be known. Introduction to the Nature, Book 1, pages 242 to 243. Therefore, what NoopooH and Noon are maintaining are promulgating its survival and better existence for all, including spirit beings and human beings, by teaching things and doing things differently. It is a fact that it is written that all things will be made new, and NoopooH is those that do make all things new. Let it be remembered always and be it known. Introduction to the Nature of Nature, Book 2, pages 259 to 260 in part. Were blessed and caused those whom I have elected to dwell upon it. Explanation. This was answered in verse 1, which is basically getting into Africa. But those who have committed sin and iniquity should not inhabit it, for I have marked their proceedings. My righteous ones will I satisfy with peace, placing them before me. Listen to reason. A cycle of nature is indeed a network of laws and nature designed to complete a circle of activities and changes, as also given in Book 1 of Introduction to the Nature of Nature, also written by philosopher Afro-Uno. The law of a person, place, or thing is the nature of him or her or it, and a network of laws is a cycle, while a network of cycles is a universe of absolute nature. The very importance of this to human beings is the fact that our mental, spiritual, and physical existence are parts of those laws and cycles and vice versa. And this means that if we do live in agreement, according to the principles and powers of the laws and cycles of eternal nature, we all who do so can definitely live in peace, harmony, and comfort with each other. This is one of the main aims and objectives of NoopooH and their positive signs Noon. Introduction to the Nature, Book 2, pages 156 to 157. But the condemnation of sinners shall draw near, that I may destroy them from the face of the earth. This writer and messenger of NoopooH Nature predicts that all enemies of the Ethiopian race will be destroyed, as well as all enemies of justice and equality. See Matthew chapter 24, verse 22 of the Caucasian Bible, King James Version, because the Caucasian Bible is most typical in judgment time than any other religion book. Let it be remembered always and let it be known. Introduction to the Nature, Book 2, page 254 and part. Show me the color of peace in wartime.